Axl Rose just dropped a confession that will shatter everything you thought you knew about Guns N' Roses' rise to fame, and the truth is darker than the blood on his guitar strings. By the end, you'll understand why he said, "We had to burn it all down to find ourselves again, and it'll change your view of GNR forever." Before Guns N' Roses, Axl was just the kid from Indiana who dreamed in hard rock. But when he and Slash formed the band in 1985, nobody expected them to become arena legends. They exploded from sweaty LA clubs to international stardom with Appetite for Destruction in 1987, redefining hard rock forever. They surged from selling out the Troubadour to headlining stadiums almost overnight. But in 1994, everything changed, not for the better. That year, GNR shocked the world by vanishing without warning. Guns N' Roses fans howled betrayal, others speculated internal conflict. But no one expected the real trigger behind that disappearance. According to Axl, it all started during endless recording sessions for the follow-up album. Slash had already left, and Axl was alone in the studio, juggling perfectionism and paranoia. He admits that during those sessions, he started questioning everything about the band. He says he was writing and rewriting songs endlessly, trying to recapture a spark he thought was lost. And as he's admitted recently, he pushed everyone too far behind the scenes. Axl pushed for radio-friendly hooks, clashing with the band's raw edge. But the real bombshell came when Axl confessed they once scrapped entire tracks just to see how empty it felt, testing the limits of their creativity and sanity. What happened next will shock you. Slash, struggling with frustration, retreated into solitude. And for the first time, Guns N' Roses considered splitting up. Axl admits he put everything on the line, gambling the band's future on one bold move to reinvent their sound. But the confession doesn't stop there. He says he later realized it wasn't just commercial pressure at work, it was fear. Fear of changing. Too much fear of losing the identity that made them legends. And the consequence was a band in crisis. In 1995, during a secluded rehearsal, Axl Rose and Slash got into a confrontation so heated that crew members thought the band would explode. They didn't just argue about music that night. They tore into each other's souls. One accusing the other of betrayal, the other of losing their way. That night the band nearly imploded, but no tape of it exists. Until now, Axl Rose's confession brought the whole story to light. The full scale of those sessions had been hidden until now. Guns N' Roses weren't just drifting, they were tearing themselves apart. But what happens when the architect of the chaos cracks open and shows us the damage? He admits he let insecurity rule creativity, pushing everyone around him to the edge. And for the first time, he says he realized how far he'd gone. By 1998, a new lineup was slowly taking shape, but the band was not the same. Axl led the charge, but he almost didn't finish it. By the end of those years, Axl told himself, "I don't know if I can do this anymore." And for the first time, the others realized their frontman was unraveling too. But here's the kicker. When Chinese Democracy finally came out, Axl said it wasn't a comeback, it was them finally finding themselves again. They returned not just as a band, but as survivors. The anger and chaos had turned into something sharp and honest, and one question still haunted Axl. Had they waited too long? Could the fire of the early days ever be reignited? And more importantly, had they sacrificed too many people along the way? The fans who walked away, the band members who left. This is where Axl gets brutally honest. He admits Guns N' Roses didn't just betray fans, they betrayed themselves. All the massive tours, the merchandise, they were chasing legacy, not truth. "We wanted to be the biggest, but we forgot to be the best," he says. Then comes the final dagger in the confession. Axl reveals that during the Chinese Democracy tour, he suffered a panic attack on stage in Mexico. He couldn't breathe, his voice shook, and for a moment it was Axl, the kid from Indiana, terrified he'd lost himself. And there's one more part of the story Axl nearly didn't share, a secret from the very early days that still haunts him. In his most gut-wrenching admission yet, Axl confesses he still carries guilt over something that happened on tour in 1991. The band had been arguing over sleeping arrangements on the tour bus. There was a draw for bunks, and Axl won the top bunk that night. The bus crashed on black ice, and a crew member was thrown through a window and crushed. Axl says he replayed that night thousands of times. What if he had given up his bunk? What if he had demanded they cancel the tour? And worst of all, what if it should have been him up there? He admits that after the crash, he threw himself into the band, not just to honor his friend's memory, but to outrun his own guilt. Guns N' Roses became a vehicle to mask the trauma and survivor's guilt that haunted him every time the lights went out. Now as he tours into a new decade, Axl says he's finally learning to live outside the music. He began to see himself not just as the rock star, but as a father and a human being, and that shift bled into their later music. When they began writing again, he didn't drum like a soldier, but sang like a storyteller. For the first time since the late 80s, Guns N' Roses felt like a band again. not a machine. The anger had matured into something honest. One final question still looms. Had they waited too long? But as Axl himself admitted, Guns N' Roses was never about the stage lights or the chaos. It was about survival, about rage turned into something greater. And now with silence creeping closer, he's finally letting us hear the truth beneath the noise. So was Guns N' Roses ever really about destruction and chaos? Or was it always about survival, about four broken souls pushing past their limits to create something immortal? You decide. Comment your thoughts below and stay tuned for more revelations.